Gary, for some people here, they are new. Maybe start how do you got to physical, to healing, just a little bit.
How do I start? So I started back when I was 13 on platform as with mental mediumship. Then when I was 18, I kind of fell into the healing, went to do healing one day, started seeing hands going to people's bodies. That kind of started me off with psychic surgery. I was then scientifically researched for 5.5 years. And through that research, we had a 90% success rate. Then I thought healing was the be all end all for me. I was good friends with a physical medium in the UK who kept telling me to get into physical and to sit for physical. So one day I reluctantly agreed to do it, and we had phenomenal first time. And then spent a couple of years working with Eckhart, doing research in physical. So yeah, that's kind of led to where I am now. I've kind of fallen into everything really. Went looking for none of it, but fell into it, and it's definitely worse jobs I could do.
Yes, but less training jobs you could do maybe as well. But yeah,
True, yeah. Safer jobs.
yeah, that's true. So we would like you put a question in the chat. Yeah,
Thanks.
and also Gary does other Zoom sessions with smaller groups. So, if you have questions then there about your development or about when it's Abraham with healing, that's a better time than when you have like 50 people and they all need to wait for one question about development, about health to the other, you see. So it would be nice if you pick questions where everyone can learn something, everyone can relate, maybe not relate to, but at least learn something from. And also there are many recordings on Wendy's YouTube. So many questions have been asked before. So if you want to listen to those,
Okay.
it's also an idea to learn a little bit more what Gary's team thinks about the running of things.
Okay. Can I just answer a question here? Please.
Hi, Jimmy.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
And you can't be for me the dead man, which is surprisingly well.
I hear, I hear. Will we start with the first question?
If you want, we'll try our best.
Okay. Um, can you see progress of humanity in the world in spite of all the wars?
Now, mankind is a stubborn beast. Indeed, it's often when you're backed into a corner that action actually occurs. So, indeed, you are going through a great time of change upon your planet. However, we're not done with your planet. And indeed, if mankind were left to their own devices, you'd probably end up destroying yourselves. Indeed, it's hard enough keeping you on the planet as it is with things planned out. But indeed, it is a great time to learn. And you have to understand that the whole point of your planet, the whole point of your side of life, is to have the opportunity for your side to grow and to learn. Yours is the world of duality. So you have those experiences that you don't get in what we call the higher realms. So indeed, yes, I do see great progress being made with mankind, but you definitely go through a great time of change and learning.
Thank you. Hyacinth also said, I've been told that tapping some honey on my navel is good for my inner health. Is that sound advice?
It depends what you're trying to attract there.
Bees.
Sounds a bit like sticky business to me. But in regards to remedy, it will help in regards to stimulation. And what you're trying to see when looking at your energy there, I say you'd be better off be putting some salt there inside the belly button and then applied heat. You'd have better results on what you're trying to achieve there.
Oh, thank you. What is the role of quantum entanglement with supports?
Now, when we're working with the parts, you have to be able to hold the belief system that an object is both there and not there at the same time. Then all we're doing when we bring in a part into your awareness, into your space, into what you call a single moment, is we're changing the perception of that moment. So the object was never there, but at the same time, the object was always there. It's just brought into your awareness. And this is where quantum entanglement will come into it, turning that 0 to 1, the cat being both alive and dead, to give you some examples. However, I'm advised that's a very simple form of it.
Thank you. Any advice on how our planet may become more peaceful so that we can stop these horrendous wars? Well, it goes with the first one, I guess.
Now, you do have to understand yours is a world of duality. If your side of life could decide upon one religion, you'd start a war over what to call the religion. Such is the nature of duality. And indeed, that opens up experiences and opportunities that you won't get in the higher realms that don't have that duality. So, indeed, your awareness as mankind will grow. You become a more aware and kinder species looking down your timeline, but you'll always have the duality. And indeed, it's in your darkest moments, such as wars, that you will learn the most. And as I look down your timeline, I do see that your war situation is going to get worse. But as I spoke earlier, we're not done with your planet, we're not done with mankind. So, some may return to my side of life, which I assure you is not that bad. And those unlucky ones who are left behind will continue to grow and learn. But we're not done with your planet.
And so, what could each individual do to help aid the world in this awakening to better understanding?
So it's a fallacy of mankind that you always look externally for answers, when in reality, you should be looking internally. Everything you're experiencing in your reality is your reality. It's a part of your creation. You exist in your own little bubble, but you allow other people's energies and gravities to affect that little bubble and affect your reality. So if there's something within your reality that you don't like, rather than trying to change it in another, you have to find that aspect, that energy within yourself, and make the change there. If every individual can do that, if they can work on themselves rather than trying to change others, if they became a beacon for others to want to follow, then your planet would be a much better place.
Thank you, Jimmy. Why is it so easy for Charlotte to sense other spirits, but so hard for me to sense my mum?
So you are all spirit first and foremost. We often refer to your abilities as gifts because it's much easier to give them to others and to receive from others. Now, it's not that you don't have the capacity to sense your mother, but when there is a personal link, such as a bond of love, that can create a blockage within the mind, within the ego, and that can create a hardening or a less sensitivity of the awareness of my side of life. It's not that the awareness isn't there, it's just the human mind, the human perception is blocking that. We have the same issues when those on your side of life return to my side of life. Often they may try to get a message across to your side of life, but it's often emotions such as grief, which exist within your side of life, which actually stop the communication happening. Or if you go out to seek a medium and you go with the intention that you really want to hear from a particular individual, you can actually tend to block that energy and block that connection. You'd be better to set the intention and then let it go so that the energy channels remain open.
Thank you. Jimmy, yesterday I took part in systemic constellation. Can you explain from your point of view, how does that all work?
So to put it in simple terms, as I pick up the energy through you, it's more about making your awareness of how the different energies and the different factions around you actually influence your reality. As I spoke earlier, you exist in your own little bubble, but you allow other people's gravities and energies to affect that bubble, thereby creating your reality. So, in techniques that you speak about, you're becoming aware of how these different energies influence your reality or manifest through you into your reality.
And is that something with working with guides as well? Yesterday, I found when people were standing in for guides that it was easier. People felt more supported. Is that something to pursue or not so?
Indeed, as I'm aware of the energy, it's one technique which can be very beneficial to some on your side of life. So, indeed, if utilized in the right way for the right individuals, it would be a benefit.
Thank you. Is it possible that the soul's journey can change or pivot due to free will?
Now, we are not as indecisive as your side of life. And indeed, every choice that's made upon your planet is your choice. But you make that choice from my side of life when you have the awareness of why you're making that choice, what you're trying to learn, what you're trying to gain. So indeed, it is your choice, but it's made from a higher awareness.
If reincarnation is part of our journey, does it prevent us from communicating with loved ones that have passed years ago?
Now, however you want to believe the concept of reincarnation, you have to understand that time works very differently from us. Time is more of a human concept. Whereas in reality, every moment that ever has existed or ever will exist is occurring right now. So even if you believe it's the personality that's coming back to your side of life, because every moment that ever is going to occur is occurring right now, that personality will always reside within your side of life as well as my side of life. In which case, if you are sensitive to that energy and to that perception and to that awareness, there's no reason you could not make contact with that awareness or with that personality. But when we're talking about reincarnation, to my awareness and my understanding, as I've never experienced it myself, I am educated and I am informed that it is not the personality that returns. The Jimmy that speaks to you now will continue to grow within the spirit side of life. However, another aspect of myself will return to the physical sphere and will live many lifetimes. As I progress in my journey, I'll start to become aware of those different lives, but I'll still retain the individualism, the personality that's speaking to you now.
Thank you. In my class development, I learned about smells. Some smells of entering of certain homes or family members amazes me. Where do you store this smell?
So again, it's all to do with the brain and the olfactory glands in regards to how your mind interprets a particular energy and how it relates to make sense of it. It's purely one sense, but any of your ability, any of your senses can be interpreted in the same way. They just have the different aspects within the brain.
Thank you. What happens when there is fluent internal electric charge experience between two people at every encounter when in the same space that originated in a circle sitting some years ago?
So in this case, it's more of a remembering of an energy. Now, in the simpler terms, we can call this bioresonating. So when you sit in your circle for development, if there's another medium or another sitter within that group who has some potential that resonates with your potential, by sitting with them, by being in proximity of them, it can activate an ability. So if you're used to sitting with someone on a subconscious level when you meet up with them, there can be an activation of that energy. There can be an exchange of energy, like an exchange of information. And this can be beneficial. It doesn't always happen intentionally that we're trying to make you aware of it. Sometimes it's more of a subconscious or a byproduct of your energies recognizing each other.
Thank you. Do we have parallel lives occurring on both sides of life? If we do, does the learning of the other aspect of ourselves bleed through?
Now, in order for an experience to truly be experienced, it has to be done so from every aspect, every avenue. Now, for this to occur, it means that every possibility must occur. So, indeed, there are parallel lives in regards to personalities which are very similar to you, but it is not the same personality. Even if they have lived the exact same lifetime and experiences up to a certain point, there will always be the branching off. And that's where the personality will diverge and gain different experiences, different outcomes. In regards to the other aspect of parallel lives, all the lifetimes that you currently live are occurring right now. And indeed, when you form the current lifetime that you have to help create the personality that you have, you may draw upon different lives or different aspects from different lives in order to help shape and mold the personality you become.
So basically, say if there is a big event happening, we all agreed to be part of that event and we just all play a different role and see it from a different side to really move forward and learn the experience and learn from it.
Indeed, you have your soul groups, and the purpose of the soul group there is a group of entities coming together in a multitude of different lifetimes, in a multitude of different forms, carrying out and learning that same experience as a group.
Another question I had from someone before was about the tones, the sounds, how they affect our health and how they affect our mind, and raising vibration, how they're very helpful. What is that with that?
Everything in the physical side of life is a vibration. Even on the most smallest scale, it is vibration. So if you can utilize the right vibrations in the right way, then it can be very beneficial to the human body, especially in regards to healing. But everything that exists within the physical sphere is a vibration, and it's a vibration coming together, creating a reality.
So are there special hertz, is that what they call it? Yeah, hertz, who are beneficial to raising our vibration, or, shortcuts?
Well, for most in your side life, I'd educate more about trying to find your vibration rather than trying to raise it.
Oh,
And indeed, it's going to be an individual purpose.
okay. Can any individual do table tipping by themselves if they sit long enough?
Indeed, everyone has the capacity to tap into any physical phenomena. Now, some physical makeups are better suited for certain types of phenomena. So you may struggle sitting at a table, but if you put enough time and enough effort in, you get some results. But you may be better suited sitting for a different type of phenomena, which may develop and grow much quicker with your physical makeup.
Okay, on that subject, how do we know? People sit for mental, for trance, for physical, and they're not really getting anywhere in either area. How would we know what is best suited and what we should be doing to cut to the chase, really?
So this comes back to where I was speaking earlier that mankind as a whole tries to look externally for answers, whereas in reality, you should be looking internally. So if you're not sure where your group should be going or what you should be sitting to, you should be sitting in the power and you should be looking through your daily life at all the examples when the spirit side of life have tried to make you aware and answer your questions. For indeed, we always answer your questions. It may not be directly in the way you're expecting, but the answers are always there. If you look at your day, if you look at the experiences throughout your day, the conversations that you've had, the experiences you've been through, you'll find that the answers are very much in front of you. It's just the human mind just chose to block it.
Thank you, Jimmy. Does religion play a part in how or what we learn when we come back to spirit?
So when you come back to the spirit side of life, if you have a particular religion, it'll be there, it'll be provided to you. Talk Monkey says, just for a moment, we're just going to get a bit more control here as the mind is interfering.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy.
Hello.
Hello.
Apologies there, I had to put a couple more kinds in the meter. Have a religion on your side of life, it'll be provided to you when you come to my side of life. For as long as you need it, as long as it is required, it'll be provided to you. However, in time, you'll come to learn it is not what sustains you. It's not what you thought it was when you walk the physical side of life. And that there's much more to it than what you believed when you walk the physical side of life. So it'll be provided to you, but it's not necessary how you think it's going to be. I've not fallen in with a group who sit around on clouds playing harps.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, well.
And indeed, for all the actions I did when I walked your side of life, it's not that hot where I am now. So if I got away with it, no one else has to worry.
That's right. Okay, so Karen asks, we who do ITC and EVP have noticed that messages and images are getting clearer and longer. As far as I understand, it is there were issues over the past years. Does this change mean that spirit side has adapted better? Because man is still putting lots of junk into the atmosphere. How may we improve it even more?
To an extent, given time as you experience time, will always work with and adapt to your technology. However, we do need a period as you experience time to adapt. It's not just my side of life learning to adapt, it's your physical form. Your side of life have to build and harness the energy. Now, if your energy is being adapted for one type of phenomena and then we have to switch from analog to digital on that type of phenomena. We need time for the chemical structures and the physical structures in your body, including the DNA, to make those adaptations. As we make those adaptations, we can then produce more of that phenomena easier upon your side of life. And this is again why it's very important and why we need more home circles sitting on your side of life so that we have a bigger pool of energy to draw with as well as to experiment with to perfect this. And indeed, looking at your side of life as well, whenever you have had a time of mass passing, such as your grand wars, then indeed physical mediumship has become much stronger as the necessity for it to exist in your side of life has been needed.
Mm, thank you. Would you please elaborate on finding your own vibration? Some practical steps, perhaps?
How long have you got?
Couple
If
of
I had
hours.
to go overall, I would go back to what I often speak about, which is about sitting in the power, taking some time out of your day where you become aware of that inner voice, that inner vibration, which is the spirit, which is the true self, rather than looking externally, rather than planning to walk around the Himalayas for 3 months with no food and no water. It'd be better to spend 10 minutes a day sitting in the power and going into that silence. In that regard, you get a lot more information than starving yourself to death, waiting for some inspiration to come externally.
Thank you. What light can you shed on how those from your side of life are capable of using our technology to contact us?
So, when you return to the spirit side of life, you don't wake up with all the information of the universe. Nothing comes for free. Everything has to be earned and gained. Not like a bartering system, but in order to progress within my side of life, you have to have the experience necessary to do so. Sometimes you'll only gain that experience from having lives and experiences on the dominant sides, on the lesser realms, whatever you want to call it. So indeed, when you return to my side life, if you have an interest, you will still have guides and helpers who will help you pursue that interest. If you want to make contact with a loved one on the physical side of life, you won't necessarily have the experience of getting that message across. And even if you could, every medium on the physical side of life is a different energy structure. So you would seek out those within my side of life who have the experience of not only working with that type of phenomena, but with that particular type of medium, who would then understand how to get the message across to them. And if that is something you were interested in doing, then you would pursue to learn that.
Thank you. Would it be helpful for those of us in the West to investigate the Eastern religion that appear to have a very developed understanding of spirit, Dharma, and chakras?
Now, the eastern side of your planet hasn't got anything special that the western side is not allowed to have. The Western side has simply forgotten that they had these abilities. They've allowed the more modern society to dumb down and change it. They've allowed the religions and the societies and the governments of the time to have that control. So that's the only change that has occurred. So it's not that the Eastern side is more advanced. They're just not as governed in that regards. They're not as changed in that regards. So indeed, you would be better to go back to your roots, back to your understandings that you once had, because all the new phenomena that have come into your planet are not new phenomena. They're phenomena that have existed throughout human history. They've just become forgotten.
Thank you, Jimmy. When a child is aborted, can he or she come back to the same mother, or do they change their plan when they return to spirit?
So when a child passes from the physical side of life to the spirit side of life, that personality will continue to grow and be nurtured within the spirit side of life. That's not to say that another aspect of the self can't return. It's entirely possible from what I'm educated, but that personality in question will continue to grow within the spirit side of life.
Thank you. Many people who are researching their family history would love someone in spirit to provide a help and help break through. Are there any spirit groups who do this work?
I believe we have an ancestry.com on the spirit side of life. You just need to submit a bit of
Ah.
But the bigger question I put to the person is what is particular you want to know and why? What to be gained from it? For indeed, we can give you information about all your lives, but what is the relevance? If it's not relevant or necessary to your current experiences or your current lifetime, there's no reason we would give you that information. Just like we could tell you everything that's going to happen for the rest of your physical life, but if it doesn't have a gain to the experiences and the lessons that you've come to learn, then we won't give it to you because we won't take away from what you've set out to learn.
Oh, okay. So I experienced 2 or 3 times a gentleman speaking or using phrases I had heard before because I don't know my dad. So why would that then occur? Would that occur to say to me, keep looking for it, or just, yeah, he existed? Why would that then be of any value? I don't get it.
So, in your regards, what you're referring to actually has a bigger picture. It's planting a seed for other areas to grow and manifest. But that said, it doesn't mean that a personality can't also make themselves known, even if there wasn't a strong connection when they're on the physical side of life. And indeed, they may still be trying to adapt and help in some way, energetically, and this could be a way to come through to that. But it does has other avenues, and there are other reasons for it.
Oh,
And with that,
okay.
friends, rather than me struggle with the mind anymore, as we are getting a lot of resistance tonight, I'm going to return the medium to you. Till we
Thank you,
speak,
Jimmy.
remember the love inside, you take it with you.
Thank you. Lots of love.
Thank you, Jimmy.